Well, I would have started taking drugs myself probably at about 17 or 18. Like, I had a very, very sheltered upbringing where I was kept away from all that kind of stuff going out. And I'm absolutely sure that if I was left out at a younger age, I probably would have started off at a younger age, and I might not be here today, you know. But from the very offset, like, I was taking stuff at a ridiculous level. Like, it was as much as I could get, and as much money as I had, and as much as I could rob and steal. You know, the second I left home, like, it didn't matter what it was. I just had to have it. Like, my first overdose was it was loads of prescription tablets. I never knew what they were. I just remember being invited into a fellow alcoholic's home, and he'd been fired from like a factory that used to make these tablets previously, and he had access to loads of them still, and they were just lying around the house. And I didn't willingly take an overdose, but I kind of knew when I was taking them, you know, that I didn't know what they were, and that they could be really dangerous tablets. And I took loads of them, absolutely loads. And I remember waking up the next day, or probably the day after, and I couldn't see straight. Like, I had double vision for the entire day, and I was absolutely petrified. Like, walking across the road, I'd see two trucks, you know, so I basically had a 50% chance of, like, one of them hitting me, you know. And it was a really scary day, but it didn't scare me enough to stop. You know, I've had friends that have died around me because of overdoses, people that would swear that they'd never ever have touched drugs. Like, one of my closest buddies, I lived on the streets with for probably 4 or 5 years, and he was my buddy for about 10 years. He never took drugs. He thought they were horrible. He likes his drink now, alright, but he'd never ever touched them. And 3 years ago, then he died of a heroin overdose when he mixed it with drink. That's the sad reality of it. Like, it's that I know a good few people. Another one was off his head and he robbed from an off license to get away from the security guard. He jumped in the river and he died. So that's only just a couple. Like, I'd been very close to overdosing myself a lot of times because there was never any stopping for me. There was never any enough. It was as much as I could get. And the reason I'm alive today is, like, because I didn't have enough money to kill myself. So when I was younger, like, you know, you just wouldn't hear of, like, older family members that you hardly know dying, but then when I was out by myself and it was people that I used to hang around with every day, you know, it hit me, like. But I just kind of used it as another excuse then to keep taking more stuff myself to cover up the feelings that I had over it, like, you know, the feelings of grief, regret, remorse that I couldn't have done anything, you know, guilt that I was still here and they weren't, you know. And it at the time I convinced myself it didn't have a big effect. I could convince myself that everything was fine, but it really wasn't. Like, you know, the drugs were just a way of just blacking out so I could forget absolutely everything on a daily basis. I would have known both of my mates' mothers, like, but I hadn't seen them since. You know, I don't think I could ever face them. The graveyard in Tralee, every time I pass it, I know my buddy's in there, but I just haven't been able to visit him yet. Every time I pass it. And my other mate, I'm reminded of constantly. You know, he was a really, really nice bloke. Like, he wasn't a scumbag at all. He just had his drink problem, and that was it. Like, and I got into a relationship then, so that kind of severed our connections. And then a year later, he went on to die. You know, so I had a lot of guilt around that maybe if I was on the streets, he wouldn't have touched any of that stuff. So, like, the stigma that I find that probably the most harmful is the attention-seeking side of it. And although there is that side of it, probably a very small percentage of people that just do it for the attention. Like, there's a serious situation behind that, like, whether it's for attention or not. Like, you know, overdose is a really serious thing. Like, and I've known people that have done it for attention reasons, crying out for help, and they haven't got that help, and then they've gone on to kill themselves. Like, do you know, whether it be through drugs or suicide, like, you know. So it's always a frightening thing when somebody does try to overdose, like, and just some people they just don't take it seriously enough. People think it's dirtier to die from heroin than it is, but it's all the same. Like, from my experience, the head shop drugs are, if any, just on par with all the illegal drugs. Like, I would have taken them myself, and my head was not right after it. Like, and I would have been 25 or 26 when I took these. Like, and I'm just shudder to think that 15-year-olds were able to walk into a shop and pick these stuff up, you know. And it was stronger than any stuff that I'd probably ever taken. Like, but I distinguish no difference from the two of them, whether they're legal or whether they're illegal. They both have the same effects, like, which is they kill people. Like,
do you think there's more of an openness? Or do you think people are more open about what's happening? You know, if say some pastor, listening back, go back to your friend.
Yeah.
Was there what was it? Was the kind of did the fit? Do you think there was more? Just thinking about the aspect of reaction of the community around them at the time. Was that different compared to something, to somebody sort of passing away through, say, ecstasy or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, like, even in the drug world, there's like different levels. There's different levels, you know, that people look at. Like, you'd have like the cannabis and drinking level, and the next level will be like cocaine, ecstasy, and acid, and all them. And the bottom level then would kind of be heroin, like, you know. So even people, I did it myself for a lot of years, that were taking cocaine and I'd never touched heroin, going, yeah, but I'm not like them. So it was easy to rationalise and, you know, say they were the worst, you know, I was doing better for myself. But I ended up like that as well, like, but we're all the same, like, we're all the same, all chasing the same thing. We're just using a different means of getting there, like.
If you have in any way been affected by issues raised, please contact the Drugs and Alcohol Helpline on 1-800-459-459 or contact drugs.ie.